lot of Facebook messages, especially inbox messages, asking me, Jermaine, how do I find a good self-defense instructor? Now, we all know that the martial arts has a lot of corruption involved in it, just like anything. Anytime it's realized that money can be made off of something, that people are interested in it, that people are going to come out and they're going to deliver a low quality product so they can make more money for their own pocket, and then you even get to the point where you have fraudulent individuals who present themselves as experts when they're not experts. Well, this can be, in some cases, some people may consider this as harmless. When it comes to self-defense, it definitely is not, because self-defense is something that you're going to have to rely on if your life is in danger. And I've always been the type, I keep it plain and simple. I say, you don't want to learn how to fly an airplane from someone who's never flown a plane before. And now, in saying that, I'm making the statement that a person who's teaching self-defense or offering self-defense should come from a real combat background. And when I say a real combat background, I'm talking military, I'm talking police work, I'm talking a fighter. And just because they have a combat background doesn't mean that they're good, number one, at self-defense. Number two, doesn't mean that they're a good instructor, so good at teaching it. Just like we know there's people who are in the military who have never had to fight, who have never had any kind of combat, or all of their combat was with an automatic rifle, or pushing a button to launch missiles. So that doesn't mean that they know self-defense. Same thing goes with a police officer. There are some police officers who've done nothing but use tasers and maybe a baton and maybe had some soft arrests. So just because they're a police officer doesn't qualify them either. And last but not least, of course, there are fighters, MMA fighters, Muay Thai, kickboxing, whatever you want to say, who may just be talented, and that's the reason they can survive in the fight game, or they may not have fought real opponents. So their fights was nothing more than a backyard scuffle, which has nothing to do with the fact of you learning how to properly defend yourself. So even when I say this, and I say, that the person that you're learning from should have combat experience or be connected to combat experience, that doesn't make anything perfect. And nothing that I'm saying here makes it perfect. The whole idea of finding somebody to teach you self-defense is going to be up to you mainly. Number one, you have to be serious about wanting to learn it. If you're looking for the cheapest self-defense around, the lowest rate, then you're going to get what you pay for. There are people out there who are giving low rates, free self-defense, sometimes anything to get you in the door, and that's just what they're going to give you, anything to keep you in the door. So you have to first of all realize that your self-defense is an investment for your life. This is the most important time of anything that you're doing in your life, because if you have to use self-defense, nothing else in your life matters. Your degree doesn't matter. How rich you are, it doesn't matter. How poor you are, it doesn't matter. And nothing matters except for the fact of whether you can defend yourself at that exact moment within that 1 to 10 seconds. So, having said all of that, I do believe if you're going to try to find a good self-defense instructor, you have to first research the instructor. Now, having said that, just because a person hasn't had actual combat experience doesn't mean they can't be a good self-defense instructor also. Just as, for instance, if they are trained under someone who's had great combat experience and they can pass that message on, pass that idea on to the individual when they're instructing, that's going to help you. But that person should still be directly connected to the one who had the combat experience, so that when things come into question, they can always seek advice from their mentor or their superior, and their superior and mentor is always over them watching, making sure that they're doing things properly that could work in a combat situation. So you want to research, make sure they have some type of combat background that can be proven. Now, we know with the internet, the website, I mean, it's just incredible now. I've even seen people putting on, fake fights to try to build credentials. So you can't even pay attention to that. You have to watch them. They should have a career. If they're claiming to be a combatant, a career military expert, a career, something that you can research deep into, and you can find other people talking about them, other people not from their area. That people create websites and they buddy up with other corrupt people and they scratch each other's backs is what they do. Me personally, whenever I'm dealing with anyone in anything, especially when it comes to proving yourself as a combatant, unless it's a military expert whose background I can research through other military people, I'm going to tell you, I want to see video footage. I want to see you move. I want to see you respond. I want to see that you understand balance. You understand, the true martial arts. You're not just a wild hair swinging, in the cage or in the boxing ring or in the Muay Thai kickboxing ring, whatever it is you're claiming your credentials are from. So research the person. Make sure they have a strong background. then I would go visit them and I would watch them instruct. You know, when you're watching an instructor, you know, there are certain things you should look for. You know, one, how are they connecting to their students and how are their students connected to them? You know, are they just, you know, kissing butt? Are they a cheerleader there just to make sure they don't lose memberships? Are they being hard on their students? You know, hard to make sure they're doing things right. Or are they just being plain out cruel? You know, you have to. This is you. You have to see this. You can tell. You know. Then of course, once you feel satisfied with what you've seen, sit down and talk to the instructor. See what kind of attention you receive from the instructor. Ask all kinds of questions. Ask anything. I mean, ask, if I was in this situation, what do you think I should do? You know, I'm always, I tell people when they come to my office, you know, ask me anything you want to. And if they're a good self-defense instructor, no matter what situation or scenario you give them, they should have a good, sensible answer where you can listen and say, you know what, that makes sense. And actually, if they're a really, really good instructor, they can probably show you a technique right there in the office. You know, there's all kinds of basic grab escapes that I personally can teach and show you sitting right in my office that are harmless. Nobody's going to get hurt. You don't have to hurt anybody with the techniques. So those are the stages I would go through. You know, you always, anytime you pick any kind of instructor in martial arts or combat, you know, even if it's training for fighting or anything like that, you want to make sure someone who's not a bloodthirsty man-hater, you know, that hates mankind, that's, you know, in a bad mood, anything like that. You want somebody who's got some compassion, who's got a sense of forward movement for mankind, a sense of, you know, of brotherhood and sisterhood. That's the type of individual you want to associate yourself with. You don't want to associate yourself with somebody who's just out to rip people's eyeballs out. You know, I know we've seen on the internet a few, you know, jokes with a karate instructor who's, you know, somebody touches you with a finger, you grab the finger, snap it in half, then you rip their eyeball out, then you rip their throat out, and you smash their groin, and then you flip them over, you break their spine, and, you know, you don't, I mean, it's a joke, you know, but there are instructors out there like that, and that's not what you want. You want somebody with sense to know that, number one, your self-defense also means not going to jail and not getting shot in the back 2 weeks later. So that's just a little bit of advice for you to help you with choosing an instructor. You know, it's challenging. You know, you can't just go out there and just pick somebody and think that's it. You have to pay attention to them. You have to research them. You have to learn their personality. You have to understand them. You have to, you know, watch them, and you have to choose who's correct for you. And then you have to go in full-hearted. Because, you know, I always say it takes a good student to make a good teacher. If the student's no good, the teacher's going to look horrible. But that works both ways. It takes a good teacher to make a good student. If you're a good, dedicated student and the teacher is not dedicated to you, then it's going to backfire on both of you. So I hope that helped you out.